War has played a part in human civilization since the beginning of time, with people pitted against one another to prove their political, cultural, or religious beliefs superior to the other. Many argue that with conflict, mankind has evolved to be the civilized group which it is today. But at what cost? With the study of war, many disregard the price of the outcome, with the focus being directed towards the cause and effect, and in such a way that war takes on a glorious hue, obscuring a terrifying cost. It is evident that with conflict comes a terrible loss of man and material no matter the outcome, and so the question arises, what good is war? Which does little more than birth heroes and change borders. War is the thing which destroys civilizations and tears families apart, idolizing brutality, savagery, and sheer force as a feasible method to achieve its goals. In his novel Armageddon, The Battle for Germany 1944 to 1945, Max Hastings produces a vivid account of some of the most brutal fighting in the conflict which defined the 20th century. Supporting the cause of the war served to produce nothing more except spite and grief as the outcome of such a terrible price. Those who fulfill law-abiding and peaceful lives find it hard to grasp what it must be like for men who have committed unspeakable crimes against their fellow humans to return to an afterlife in civilization. All men who participate in wars find themselves obliged to do things which, if they are decent people, they afterwards regret. Source A. War does not serve to strengthen the foundations of civilization. War serves to test its limits and weaken all involved, and all at a terrible price nowhere near sufficient to justify the outcome. War is often viewed as nothing more than a clash of numbers, statistics which portray great loss, but do not invoke any feelings of sympathy or horror in the audience. In his article, Why Are We So Blind to the True Horrors of War?, Chris Hedges challenges the statistical perspective of war, the perspective which refuses to incite any emotion from the provided information aside from blatant recognition, and brings to life the true terrors of the process. War begins by calling for the annihilation of the others, but ends ultimately in self-annihilation. It corrupts souls and mutilates bodies. It destroys homes and villages and murders children on their way to school. It grinds into the dirt all that is tender and beautiful and sacred. Source F. Hedges portrays the true brutal nature of war, and challenges the fundamentals of a society which refuses to accept the terrible cost of conflict. Hedges also addresses the true cost of war, and how no goal should be considered acceptable at the cost of an innocent life. Scott Atran builds off of this point in his article, Why War is Never Really Rational, aiming more at the pointlessness of war, challenging the rhetoric which drives us beings to fight one another, and just how truly worthless our attempts at one another are when considering the price which must be paid. In truth, war is almost always an emotional matter of status and pride, of shedding blood and tearing the flesh of others held dear, of dread and awe, and of the instinctual needs to escape from fear, to dominate and to avenge. Adrian emphasizes that why people fight each other truly does not make sense, and that war is a pointless venture when any number of other options can be conceived to alleviate the issue. At the cost of human life, war truly does seem pointless. No man, woman, or child should ever fear the threat of losing their life to another being over an issue that is inflated beyond feasible recognition, and its consequences only result in despair and loss. What good is war? In short, war is no good, but that is no secret. War is a venture pursued when all other options seem hopeless, and its stance as a last resort still stands to be unacceptable. No life should be lost over the wishes and wants of another. All should feel entitled to a life safe from the fatal intervention of others. War has brought nothing but pain and despair upon all in its ravenous path, and for those reasons alone it should remain clear that war is a terrible course to follow.